Asatru is a folk religion. It's a religion tying ethnicity and religious identity into a way of life. It's a difficult topic to discuss. It doesn't get discussed often enough, but I thought it would be a good opportunity if we got together, at least for today, begin discussing some of these issues, and maybe in the future we could discuss other issues of importance. The term folk is not often well defined. It's used a lot, but the way that I personally use it is basically meaning the people to whom Asatru was brought to originally, or religions very similar that we now today know as Asatru. Like I said, the whole forum idea is new, but I think it can be an interesting opportunity for us to discuss some of these interesting and difficult issues. What I've done is I've constructed a number of questions. I presented it to our participants here so that they could prepare some answers. Hopefully these will be issues that are important and interesting to you. So our three panelists don't need much introduction, but real briefly, if you, from left to right, Steve, if you could introduce yourself real briefly to everybody involved here.
My name is Steve McNallen. I head an organization called the Asatru Folk Assembly. I first started following the gods about 35 years ago. Obviously, the opinions that I'll be giving here today actually represent not so much the AFA necessarily as my own worldview and my own opinions, which obviously are somewhat connected to those of the AFA.
Thank you.
My name is Helga Mangum. I've been heathen for about 15 years, and I'm a member of the Hammer of Thor Kindred. And I was invited to speak by Stefan, so thank you.
Stefan?
I'm Stefan Thorsman. I'm chieftain and Gothi of the Hammer of Thor Kindred. I've been heathen for 15 years. I'm also clergy coordinator for the Asatru Folk Assembly. And I'm really, really honored to be here.
So what I've got, let's start out with either an easy or difficult question. Starting from left, my left, Mr. McNallen, how many Asatru do you think there are?
Well, that's a good question. We're not exactly organized in a way that allows us to keep track of that. You know, there is no central registry for Asatru, and even the term itself is debatable. Many people don't consider themselves Asatru, but rather Odinists or Theodish or this, that, or the other, and many don't even have a name for it. Wild guess, 5,000 to 20,000. Okay. That's nice and general.
It's not a specific question. I'm kind of just leaving it open for people to discuss and maybe address as they see. Worldwide, it could be larger, yeah. Helga, what do you think?
I think he answered it very well, and there's a lot of people that, I know they just moved to a small town in Oregon and they found a heathen in their town who had never met another heathen before in her life.
Right.
So I think there's as good a count as we could get from our who's in the Troth, who's in the AFA, who's in the Odinic Rite, would still probably only be a half to three-quarters of who is total. I think the communication between is one of the harder things.
Stefan?
I'm going to say something, and I could be way off base here, but this is just what my gut instinct tells me. I think worldwide, we are probably counting solitaries, people who are practicing heathenry alone, heathens behind bars, various people who are searching and are going to very, very soon find heathenry. Worldwide, I'd venture to guess we're probably around 100,000, counting heathens in Germany, Iceland, Sweden, because it's growing. It's taking a foothold in Europe much faster than it is here in Vinland. And I think part of the reason for that is because that's the mother, that's the mother country, that's the source. But it's really taking hold. And if you are on the internet, if you spend any time on the internet at all, you see this. It's reflective in the music, which is starting to take hold, websites filled with heathen art. So I think we're growing. So I'd say probably 100,000.
Steve, considering that growth can be both a blessing and bring its own problems. How do you think we should approach growing ourselves and bringing those people into our organizations and in our community in a way that's not going to be very disruptive?
Disruptive to...
Well, if, for example, a bunch of people with their own ideas come in about who we are and what we are, and they bring those in, often sheer numbers alone can affect and influence the culture and views that people hold. And if we start bringing people in from Christianity, for example, they're going to bring their own ideas in.
Okay, gotcha. I think it's important to mature this thing of ours that we do to the point that there is a general understanding of what we're about, that the scholarship is there, but not just the scholarship for the elite, but also versions of that have filtered down to everyone involved. There needs to be a general understanding of what the Northern Way is, and we can institutionalize that to some extent, like within the AFA we've got the clergy program and so forth that largely meshes in with our own particular worldview.
Helga?
I think growth is always a difficult question in a community such as ours, where we're small enough that right now the people that come to our faith tend to be the very dedicated. When I was 16 and trying to find other people of this faith, it took me, I think, 2 years to finally get an answer from what was then the Ring of Troth. I think that's a bad thing. I think making ourselves available for people to find us is a good thing. Pushing for growth, I think it's a little touchier, because I'd like to maintain the quality of people who come into the community. And I certainly think that having some sort of a already established set of guidelines, I guess, for what the community is would be helpful for us in maintaining what we want, and helpful for the people coming in for understanding what it is they're getting into, if that makes sense.